Okay, so now we've gotten to the ecological level. So we did all the organ systems put together, okay, and we can have the different individuals, okay. We are part of the species called Homo sapiens, okay, we're humans, okay, and all of the individuals of the same species that live in a particular area makes up what is called the population, okay? So if we, for example, all lived in this particular room, we would be a population of Homo sapiens, okay? If we consider a zoo, okay, the cage with all the monkeys, that would be a population of monkeys, okay? Or the area where the elephants live, that would be a population of elephants, okay? So here is a okay, so here's a large group of Homo sapiens making up a population. All right, now all the populations in an area, in other words, when we start to add in the different species, okay, like the humans, or adding, in other words, let's open up all the cages in the zoo, okay? So now all the populations are mixing with one another, okay? The humans that are visiting, the birds now are flying around, the plants, the trees, the monkeys, the elephants, okay? If we opened up all the cages in the zoo, we would have then a community, okay? So it's the different populations in a particular area make up a community. Now, from the community, here's another community. Okay, you see some panda bears living together with some elephants and kangaroos. So that's a community. Now, when we start to put in and consider the physical environment, which is called the abiotic factors, and so I'm talking about things like the temperature, which is of course due to the sun, the wind, the water, the light, okay, the soil. Okay. These factors, together with the community, make up an ecosystem. So the ecosystem then is the community plus the physical factors of the environment. Okay, when you start to consider, weather and climate and temperature and water and so forth, then you have the ecosystem. Okay, here is what I like to use as an example of an ecosystem. This is a fish tank, and it's sort of like a micro ecosystem because you have different species of fish, okay, and then maybe you have algae on the glass as well, and maybe you've got, I don't know, turtles and frogs in there too, so you got different species, and they're all intermingling with one another, and you have soil or rocks on the bottom, so there's your your medium, and then you have water, of course, and air is being pumped in through the filter, and you've got a heater on the tank, so that regulates the temperature, and you've got light on it. So that's kind of like a micro ecosystem. Okay, you're considering all of the physical components of the environment plus the community, all the different fish that we have. And here again is another aquarium, so that's a good example of a micro ecosystem. Okay, the next level, okay, ecosystems, several ecosystems make up what we call biomes, okay? And biomes are very large regions made up of several ecosystems, and the biome is going to have a certain climate. And the climate will, of course, determine the type of vegetation that grows there, and the type of vegetation that grows there will determine which animals will reside there. So biomes is the next level, okay? Is the next level of organization, okay? Several ecosystems, okay, put together with a certain climate, vegetation, and animal life that it supports. And the biomes can be divided into two categories. Those biomes that are on land are called the terrestrial biomes. Those biomes that are in water are called the aquatic biomes. So there's two different types of biomes, okay? This picture is showing us the terrestrial biomes, And you can see we've already looked at the tropical forests in green along the equator. There's also a savanna. That's a type of biome. Savannas are in these brown areas. Okay? Deserts are in yellow. So we have the desert here. Okay? Siberian desert. Okay? Desert in Australia. We have chaparrals. We have temperate deciduous forests. Coniferous forests are in the colder regions with cone-bearing trees. Tundra is even colder. You see up closer to the polar regions. So there's several different types of terrestrial biomes. And then there are, of course, the aquatic biomes, rivers, lakes, streams, estuaries, intertidal zones, which are beaches, coral reefs, and oceans, okay? So we have all the different aquatic biomes, okay? So lakes, rivers, estuaries, that's where a river might meet an ocean, okay, where the water will be slowed down and we have a little dirty island that forms, but it's actually very productive. It smells, but it's good. It's productive. It's where mating goes on. Fish stop off to eat and birds and everything. But anyway, so all of these things are the aquatic biomes, okay? Now, when we take all of the biomes, okay, and we put them all together, okay, all the terrestrial biomes plus the aquatic biomes, we finally wind up with the biosphere, okay? In other words, planet Earth with all of its organisms, okay, with the land, with the sea, okay, with the atmosphere, with the weather, the entire fabric of life, okay, is going to be on our planet, okay? You've got all the biomes, okay? You've got all the forms of life, okay? And you have now the entire planet Earth, or the biosphere, okay? So we can then sort of define what is ecology. Ecology is the study of how living organisms are going to interact with each other and the environment, okay? How living organisms interact with each other as well as with the environment, okay? And for example, the energy of the sun, okay? That's radiant energy or electromagnetic radiation is going to be captured by the plants. And then the plants use that energy from the sun and they carry out a process or series of reactions called photosynthesis. And with that process, they're going to form oxygen and glucose, okay? They're food producers. And then the animals can come along and eat the plants. And the animals either eat the plants directly or indirectly. In other words, they eat other animals that ate the plants. And so we have the producers and the consumers. The food producers are the plants, and the consumers are the ones that either eat animals or they eat the plants. Okay, so we have consumers and we have producers. Okay, so you can see here, we've got the a food web here. There's the sun, okay, and there's your plant life here, and then all the animals that are eating everything. And you've got primary consumers and secondary consumers, and depending on who eats who, okay? And here's another example showing us what's going on here, you know, as far as producers and consumers, okay? So here you have the cow who eats the grass, okay? The grass is the producer, the cow is the consumer, okay? And then you eat the cow, or you have a nice steak, so you're also a consumer. You've indirectly gotten the plant food from the cow, because the cow ate the plants, you ate the cow, okay? And we have more examples of the same thing, okay? So here we have the zebra eating the grass, and then the lion is the animal that indirectly feeds on the plant, because he's eating the zebra that ate the grass, okay? And we also have to remember that there's going to be decomposers in the cycle, okay? If we take a look at what's going on here, you have the plant life, okay? And then the animals eat the plants. And then the other animals are going to eat those animals. Eventually, animals die, and let's say this guy dies, okay, decomposes, and so you have the bacteria and the microorganisms here that are going to take the nutrients from the dead organisms, and they are going to turn them back into the nutrients that the plants need. So decomposers are very important in the cycle, okay? So if we take a look at the nutrient cycle, you've got the producers, the plants, then you've got primary consumers and secondary consumers, but all of them, the producers and the consumers, when they die, okay, the decomposers will process and feed on the remains of other organisms, and they will recycle the nutrients back into the environment, into the soil for the producers, for the plants, okay? So you can see then there is a very great interdependency amongst the organisms, okay? There's a lot of interdependency amongst organisms. This is a table showing you who some of the decomposers are in the soil, bacteria, okay? This is a type of fungi, protozoa, algae. So these are all decomposers. They live in the soil, and their purpose is to recycle the nutrients back. And this is a nice picture to show us how the nutrient cycle works. You can see here, you've got the producers, which should be up here, producers, and they're eaten by the primary consumers. And then we have secondary consumers. But all along here, we have decomposers, because they're going to feed off of anything that is dead, the remains of the dead organisms, and recycle it back to the producers. So it shows you a nice nutrient cycle. So as I said, there's an interdependency amongst organisms. The organisms depend either directly or indirectly on each other, okay? And at this point, we can give a nicer definition to biology. It's the study of living organisms and how they operate and relate to one another. Okay, so this is a broader definition than we gave earlier. It's the study of living organisms, how they operate and they relate to one another, okay? Okay, that's all for today in this module.